Hi everybody, it's Sonia McDonald here and welcome to the Leadership Channel. Nick and I have been having a lovely chat trying to get the sound working for the past 20 minutes. So today I'm looking like a receptionist. So I'm so excited to be interviewing the amazing Nick Muldoon, who is the Co-CEO of Agile. And last night he sent me through some incredible insights into who he is and his leadership, and it was such an honor. I just loved seeing all his wonderful reflections around what leadership means to him and the great work they're doing at Easy Agile. So welcome, Nick.
Thank you so much for having me, Sonia.
My pleasure. I know that you're moving offices at the moment, so I'm really, it's really great that you have taken some time out whilst moving during COVID to talk to me today.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. Look, this is a pleasant distraction from moving.
It would be a great distraction. So now I'm going to ask you a couple of questions because the Leadership Channel is all about interviewing remarkable people who are being courageous, and it's about you inspiring so many people out there that are watching, because they kind of I think for me, I think we see too much in the media around leaders that aren't doing the right thing, or leadership that is about role or title, when leadership, we were just talking about it before, leadership isn't a role or title, it's an attitude, it's a mindset. So looking back on your life, I mean, what sort of experiences or people, what helped you be who you are today? Who helped you be who you are today as well?
I've had a long list of people that have enabled me to arrive at this point in life, and so I'm tremendously fortunate. I think back to reflecting on my upbringing. I'm a white male in a democratic country that's resource rich and has been prosperous for a really, really long time. So I won the lottery there of being born in this country. I've got educated parents, one of whom was an entrepreneur, so there was certainly that aspect. But throughout my life, I've had a laundry list of people from school, university, and beyond that have really helped and encouraged me to achieve my potential, to understand what my potential was at various stages, but to actually press me and go on and try and achieve something and do something with your life. I think back, Sonia, to one of the things that my mother and father used to say to me as I was growing up, and it was always, you can be whoever you want to be, you can achieve anything that you put your mind to. So whatever you want to do, you can do it as long as you put your mind to it. And that stuck with me for so long. And I tell my own kids that today, and I tell the team here, like, it's so powerful when you believe in yourself.
I think believing in yourself is so important. And it takes courage to believe in yourself as well.
And that others believe in you, and they believe that you can achieve something, and they want to help you on that journey.
That's all. Yeah, I did notice that you had when you sent me through your incredible insights last night, I saw a list of amazing people that you've worked with, and it is around those people that really shape who we are and opening yourself up. Someone actually said to me yesterday, which I really identified with, great leaders are really open to people's advice or other people's advice as well, and getting guidance from others. So that is fantastic. All right. So I know that you've written a lot here around leadership, but what does leadership mean to you? Like, what does it mean to you today?
Today, leadership means to me, enabling someone in the team or someone in the community even to understand and attain their potential. Like, that's really what it comes down to. So for someone here that's in the team and they're in their early 20s and they've just completed university, it's about going, okay, well, what's the next step? Like, where's the next milestone in your life, and how do we help you get to that point? Or in the community, like, I think about the leadership. My wife is involved. Liz is involved in the board at school, and she's trying to lead by example and bring governance and a sense of respect and responsibility to the school, and demonstrate that for the the school community. So leadership comes in various forms. But yeah, for me at the moment, what I'm really thinking about, Sonia, is how do we help here at Easy Agile? How do we help the team members achieve their potential?
That's fantastic that you're really focused on the team. I mean, how did Easy Agile come about? I mean, where did the courage come from for you to? I mean, I know I hear you mention a little bit about your wife. She really helped you with that courage to move to San Francisco, and I know that you have worked with some remarkable people in your career. But what was it about? How did you go about starting Easy Agile?
Yeah, so I think, look, I spent a number of years at Atlassian in Sydney, and my wife Liz, I'd lived in Singapore previously, and she'd lived in Scotland, Kenya, and Vietnam. She's from small town of 6,000 people in regional South Australia. So she's always had this quest to travel, and I've always been really fortunate to have the opportunity to travel. Part of the reason that we went to San Francisco actually was because I was traveling to America 5 or 6 times a year with Atlassian, and it was just a little bit. It was a little bit tedious being away from home that much time. But in San Francisco, I saw this venture-backed industry, this venture-backed software industry where, take on a lot of funding, grow big really fast. The venture companies, they don't want you to be a zombie. That is, they don't want you to be profitable and just growing. They either want you to go big or they want you to flame out. And so with an 18-month-old American daughter and wanting to get closer to the family to raise the kids, we decided to return to Australia, but didn't want to go to Sydney because we didn't want to be in the hustle and bustle of Sydney. We wanted an acre of land, we wanted a vegetable garden and chickens, and so we selected Wollongong. But at the time, this is all obviously pre-COVID-19. Atlassian at the time wasn't super receptive to remote work, and so you really had to be in Sydney. And my role at Twitter, I couldn't do that role because that was a coaching role, so I couldn't do that role out of time zone in Australia. So it kind of led me to think about starting a business, and I was so fortunate that my co-founder Dave, he and his wife were in a similar circumstance. They moved to San Francisco with Atlassian. They'd had an American daughter. Dave in particular wanted to be back closer to his family because his mum was sick. And so it was just kind of an opportunistic thing to kind of ask Dave and his wife Rin if they'd be interested in coming down to Wollongong. And how lucky we were to start this business together. And so we've got a business here in Wollongong that's employing people in the software space.
So tell me a little bit about what you do. So here's me kind of going, I wonder if what you do sounds really awesome. So tell us how you help people like myself.
Yeah, so we have, Dave and I, our background, our experience is in Agile software development teams. Yeah. And at Atlassian, it was never called Agile software development. It was just the way that we got stuff done. But for a host of other companies that were older and that were waterfall, they had this very long process to get something into production and to deliver value to their customers. Whereas at Atlassian, it was weeks, maybe a couple of months. And at Twitter, like what I found at Twitter was chaos. So it was the opposite end of the spectrum. And so at Twitter, we were trying to bring in some process, some structure. Yeah. And in starting this business, Dave and I decided that we wanted to go and help teams, Agile teams, well, I should say teams in both of these worlds, the chaos, the waterfall and the Agile, be more effective. And so we provide solutions for product managers that are trying to understand the personas of their customers, that are building a roadmap for what they aim to deliver to their customer and when, so that they can collaborate with their marketing team or a go-to-market team around events. We have a program management. So if you think of some of the large banks in Australia, they have hundreds of people that are working together to deliver a piece of functionality. And so how do they orchestrate that and bring that together as a cohesive unit? So we have a number of software solutions that sit on top of Atlassian Jira which of course is the product that Dave and I wrote back in the day.
Yeah.
I was a product manager at Atlassian and he was an engineer there. So, it's a space that we knew really well. We kind of talked about, a software company can start anywhere in the world, but we chose to start it in Australia because there's a social safety net, right? There's only so far you can fall in Australia. You've got public healthcare. There's a good public education system for your kids. You do have a job seeker payment.
Yeah.
Whereas in America, there's that social safety net just really doesn't exist. And so you can fall so low. And for that reason, like, there was really no intent to start the company anywhere else around the world. But having said that, like, we've been able to build a company that services a global customer base. We have over 2,500 companies around the world that we call our customers: IKEA, Audi, BMW, the big banks, insurance companies are Western Europe, North America. And we do it all here from Wollongong, and we do it out of time zone, obviously, because, we're working an 8:30 to 4:30 day. So, we've been tremendously fortunate. We've been so lucky. And the fact that we decided to build a business on the back of the Atlassian products means that we take the lessons that we've learned over 10 years and we've got a head start. So we just tried to build a company in a space where we could increase our odds of success, I guess.
Yeah. We're really, really blessed that we're in Australia, particularly during this time as well. So, and it's just so exciting to hear what you guys are building, and especially Wollongong as well. I mean, it's great to see that you're building something that isn't in one of the majors, but you're able to service everyone around the globe, So, we're in Brisbane at the moment, and still it's a great city. It's not like your Sydney's or Melbourne's, but again, we service people around the globe. So I think you could do it anywhere. And I mean, what's your vision?
Yeah.
Like, what's your vision for Easy Agile? Like, where are you guys wanting to take it? I know I'm throwing a few spatters at you. I am going to ask you.
No, it's great. It's really great, Sonia. So, Dave and I have been reading a book recently. There's a gentleman, John, from a company in Sydney, Altus, and John.
Oh yes, yep.
So John and Dave and I, we're part of this group that Anna Samios runs, which is a CEO roundtable. And John, 30 days ago, he mentioned this book called Small Giants by Bo Burlington, and I was just like, "What is this book?" And he kind of, it was an offhand, it was a sidebar, right? He just mentioned this book and said, "Oh, you might like to read it." I immediately bought 2 copies of this book, and the next day on Sunday, the day after it arrived, I gave a copy to Dave, and he and I have been reading it, and I finished it on Monday morning. And this book is just, it's like, I got so jazzed.
I'm gonna get it. I love getting book recommendations. So
I got so jazzed, Sonia. So it's basically like, Bo was, and maybe still is, but was a writer for Inc. magazine, and went out to discover these companies that make a conscious decision to stay small. And so they make a conscious decision not to go big, essentially. They turned down the funding. They didn't, borrow the world to go and open in 100 different locations or whatever else. And they stayed grounded in their community. And so it's been really inspiring, I think, for Dave and I to read this over the past month, and it's probably shifting our thinking a fair bit at the moment, I would say, about what our vision is. Really, honestly though, to come back to it, like, it's our people. So I think about one of the young people on our team, Satvik. Satvik joined us with a winter internship in 2016. He was still at university. In 2018, he went part-time, he went part-time immediately after his internship, but he was doing more days a week. And we flew, so Satvik has, at the age of 20 years old or something like that, he went business class to Germany with our product manager, Tegan, to interview customers. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I love the fact that we're small enough that we can make the decision to send our team business class. I love the fact that we've got the capability to do that. But I never had the opportunity to travel business class when I was 20, and I'm going to ruin this guy. Like, he's not going to be able to work anywhere else, right? Because he's got it so good. And so my vision at the moment really revolves around the team and making sure that the team gets, I want them to have tremendous opportunities through life. That's really what I want them to have.
Oh my gosh.
I would love, like Satvik and his partner. Like, I remember an early conversation with Satvik, and he was talking about, he had an interest in like checking out Berlin. And so this trip was to visit customers, but it also meant that he got the chance to see Berlin, because he thought he might like to live there. And anyway, I remember this conversation from way back when, and I was thinking, how cool would it be if in 5 years' time or something, Liz and I, with the kids, we're traveling through Europe, and Suffolk says, you know what, come and stay with my wife and I, and we'll take you out for dinner or something like this. And he's on the next phase of his career journey. But like, how cool would that be? It'd be really, yeah, that you've had a positive, because look, like I think of the indelible impact that people like Audra Eng and like Brett Taylor, Brian Rowlands, Mike and Scott at Atlassian, like they have, Steve Green at Twitter, like these people have had such a tremendous impact on my life, and I just want to pay it forward and give that same, that same opportunity to some of the next generation.
I love.
I get really jazzed about that.
Yeah, I know you do, because I know servant leadership is something you're super passionate about as well. And that's a real passion of mine. And I think the thing I love about what you're doing, because sometimes I think we can look at the Atlassians of the world, and that kind of, we look at that and we'll go, oh, that's a bit scary. Like they're these two guys, like they've built this like amazing conglomerate that's like changing the world. Oh, I don't know if I can do that. But the thing is, you can do that. And I think you're like a testament to that, to say, hey, like the small giants thing, like anyone can be a giant. You don't have to be, and we all have to start somewhere, because I remember watching Mike's TED talk around that imposter syndrome thing, and how, and I love the story, and I actually mentioned it in my book, like I love the story of how he went when I think a client rang them and said, oh, we want to talk to account payable, and he's put them on hold and said to his co-founder, is that they pay us or we pay them? Like, and he was pretending like to be bigger, as we do, like we pretend to be bigger than what we are, like we kind of like fake it till you make it sort of thing. But it sounds really awesome that you guys are out there going, you know what, I want to pay it forward. Like for me to give that opportunity for someone to travel, as you said, business class, like how, all do great work. How great is that, and that's a great vision. So sorry.
Just a sidebar, Sonia, on Mike and Scott, right? Like when I joined Atlassian in 2007, at that point in time, their stated goal was to be the Australian software company success story, right? So go back to where we started the conversation, and my parents saying you can achieve anything you put your mind to, right? These two, back in the day, we're like 15 years ago now, they said we want to be the Australian software company success story. That's my series, sorry. And they set out to achieve it, and they have done, right? Like you can achieve anything you put your mind to. Like, how do we tell every young person today that story?
But how do we? And I think this is why, we're doing it now. That's why we're going to kind of share it out to everyone, is that's what we need to be doing. We need to be demonstrating to our future generations and our generations of tomorrow that anything's possible if you believe in yourself. The last thing I expected was to start a leadership consulting company and be a keynote speaker and an author. Like it was like not even part of my plan, but I believed in myself, and it's amazing when you do believe in yourself where you can take it. So now really love that. And I could talk about that topic like for actually hours around how we inspire our generations of today, tomorrow. But I understand like it has been a challenging time, and here you are growing a business like so many other people. So what sort of challenges are you facing, or what sort of the challenges are, and how are you overcoming them as well?
Yeah, like recency bias, the things that I think about are very much related to COVID-19. One of the big challenges that we had to deal with, so we were having drinks on a Friday afternoon at the end of February, and it was starting to take off overseas then. And we just asked the team, like, how do you feel? And the team was like, like I'm a little bit cautious of all this. And we just called it then. Like at the end of February, we called it. We said, that's it, work from home. And over the course of the weekend, the team came in and they basically like stripped the office bare. Aside from that, like people took chairs, they took monitors, they took everything that they needed to work from home, and they did that. Started at the beginning of March. So there was a huge challenge there about how do we bring the, we would get coffee as a team every morning before our huddle. So at 8:30 or at 9:15 after our huddle, we'd all go to the same coffee shop, get coffee. We have a bit of a chit chat. Most of the team would go and get lunch, bring it back to the office, sit down and have lunch as a team. Like, we're a really tight knit crew. And so going remote, and like, it was super painful. The mental health issues really came to the fore for the team. And I think, like, one of our team members, Tegan, she put it like quite succinctly. She said, look, we're in a bubble, right? Like, we haven't been impacted. We haven't lost days. We haven't lost our jobs. Our mates and our family members, some of them have, and it's like nothing's changed for us except I had to move my laptop home. And so, how do our team members, how do they navigate that? And then the ups and the downs. And Dave and I, so we're in the new office now, right? As soon, like the first week of March, we'd signed the fit out, all this sort of stuff. We called out the fit out company. We're like, no, we put it on hold. And we basically, it took us, I think, about 5 weeks before we plucked up the courage and we said, you know what? Foot back on the accelerator, right? Take the office, fit out the office. We hired enough people while we were in lockdown in remote. We couldn't get them back in the old office anyway. So, like, there's so many things that have hit us from all these different angles over the past couple of months. It's been quite exhausting, trying to like shift from, like, are we gonna, like, what's the financial ramifications? What are we doing about growing the team? Are we going to take the new office? How do we do, how do we manage a fit out? Like, throughout COVID-19, when there's suppliers that can't get us, tiles and whatever else that we need for the new office. I mean, it's been really challenging, but the overarching thing has just been trying to manage the team's mental health and keep them ticking along as best as possible, which hasn't been easy for anyone. But that's probably been the most challenging thing in probably my leadership experience at Easy Agile, I dare say, over the past 4.5 years.
Yeah, I think it has been for a lot of people, and also the fact that it is so pivotal during this time that we do need to be really taking care of our teams and our people, and making sure that we're checking in on them to see if they're okay. Because even though they might be saying, which I think is really great, that, they still have their jobs and they only have to take their laptops home, it's the external factors that they're dealing with as well. If they do have friends and family that have been impacted, and trying to navigate that, but also losing that ability to come to work and really connect, because we are social beings. So that, regardless of, okay, great, I've brought my laptop home, and I think that, depending on like how this is going to all navigate, and I think now flexible working is going to become more of the norm, people still miss that social interaction and connection at work. So I think that's been I think for everybody, it's around how do we actually keep the well-being and mental health of our people, our teams, at the forefront of our leadership as well. So in terms of...
Sorry, Sonia, I was just going to say, like, it's a bit of a sidebar, but there's a couple of things. So we would always do a morning huddle at 9 a.m. And as soon as lockdown began, and as soon as the team started working remote, which was a bit earlier, but we started an afternoon huddle at 4 o'clock. And so we're on video conference at 9 a.m. again at 4 p.m. So it was, the morning is always, what's good? What are you working on today? Do you have any blockers? And then in the afternoon, we added, how did you get on today? And what's your one key thing for tomorrow? And that worked well. And then after about 6 weeks, we did a retrospective on it. So, like, continuous improvement, right? We did a retrospective, and we introduced this other thing, which is it's an add-on, or it's an app for Slack, which is called Donut. And so everyone in our channel on Slack, every week they get paired up with someone else. And so it's like, I mean, for instance, Chris buys all these weird and wonderful Chinese instruments, and he's learning how to play them. And he's got this ceramic flute, And so you get on a donut with Chris and he's going to play the flute to you. And then, you know, he was like, Angad was playing, he was playing chess, and you know, like, so they're all, but it's completely not work related. It's like, it's trying to bring back that little bit of that human connection that you talk about, despite the fact that, because the team has to be so deliberate in you know, that you can't just walk over to someone's desk and say, hey, Jared, can I bug you about this? It's like, oh, can I put some I got to put some time on Jared's calendar, and then, you know, we've got to get into this. It's been really challenging, actually. There's so many aspects to this that have been challenging.
But it's also, you know, what I think's been challenging. There has been so many aspects of being challenging, and this, I am going to ask you this: is I know you've written a lot here around how you develop yourself as a leader, and I think and we're going to explore that. But I think as well, it's like, how are we taking care of ourselves? I mean, how are you taking? I know you're really passionate about self-development, but how are you taking care of yourself during this time? I mean, because I think that's really important as a leader.
Not well, quite frankly. I mean, so before all this, I live a 15-minute bike ride in that direction near the beach, right? And I ride into town to the old office on my bicycle. So I ride to and from the office. That all but stopped because I was working from home, so I wasn't getting my exercise. I said to like, we've got other families from school that live down the street, and so we knock about with them a fair bit and their kids. And I basically said, look, if it's going to be the end of the world, then we're drinking all the good booze and we're eating Haig's chocolate, because I love Haig's chocolate. So we just went to town around Easter, like on good red wine and lots of chocolate. And I've been eating soul food. So self health has just like fallen off a cliff since the beginning of March, and it's only just now starting to claw its way back. So probably setting a really bad example from being a leader, or trying to be, setting a really bad example for like the community and my team. But full transparency, I just went off I'm like, nah, all the good booze, all the good chocolate, soul food, like give me all the heavy Italian meal, like I'm there. I wouldn't recommend it, but you know, it's what I chose to do.
Oh, don't worry. I won't be telling you what I've been doing. I think everyone at the moment's been kind of going COVID kilos, COVID wine. You know, it's but it's, I think as well, like, I mean, I've been really focused on, and I'm not saying I'm, you know, like this 24/7, but around making sure, I think in terms of keeping that great mindset, like I've just been very much around just keep moving forward, keep being determined, keep being persistent, just keep looking after those people around me. But there has been times where I've gone, okay, this is scary stuff, because it is like that uncertainty, but that's why
the news cycle, right, Sonia? Like I worked at Twitter for a number of years, and it's so debilitating. Like, you get sucked into the vortex, and you've spent 45 minutes or something trolling through Twitter, and you've read all this horrendous stuff that people are sharing. And it's like, if you turn off Twitter and you turn off the news, you just kind of like put the blinkers on, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna, there's my next milestone. That's the flag in the sand that I got to go get. And it's a lot easier to do that. So a number of the team members here, like, they just turned off all the social media, and they took like a social media detox. They probably replaced it with like TV, but it was at least it was like watching a series. It wasn't the constant deluge of the daily news cycle.
Yes, hang on 2 seconds. Thank you. That's my daughter. My computer I've got this new laptop, and literally the power is like, literally, I'm seeing it, like, I had it at 100%, and for some reason on this live stream it's decided to go down. So I've just been like, can you get my charger? Because I don't want to lose the momentum of this. I'm so sorry, Nick.
You're all right.
So my daughter's like putting her hand behind the door.
You don't need to apologise for any of this. This is great.
Oh no, it is great. Oh, I love these interviews. Everyone, the momentum and feedback we've been getting from these have been really, really good. Because I think it's just about keeping it real. Like I think as well, I agree, because I actually took a rest off Facebook, and I follow some politicians on Twitter just because I find their leadership quite interesting. And I've been seeing some of the tweets, particularly a particular leader in the States, and it's really amazing seeing how people are responding to this time in terms of their messaging and brand. And I always say to people, make sure you really stay on brand, like you stay on messaging. And I don't know, obviously. Anyway, Rosemary just wants to say she's loving that we're talking about the non-work stuff. So thanks, Rosemary. I knew you'd love that. So, okay. So what advice would you give to anyone? I know that you kind of said believing yourself is really, really important, but what other advice would you give to anyone that is watching this and is going, okay, like how do believing in myself, I think is like so key, but what advice would you give to up and coming entrepreneurs or people out there that are watching this and kind of going, oh, maybe I should have the courage to do something?
I think gosh, there's a lot there, honestly, Sonia.
I know, yeah, there's heaps there actually.
So first things first, the one thing that I think everyone needs to keep in mind is don't take it as advice. Take it as someone sharing perspective, because they've never been in your shoes. So we talk about this from agile transformation perspective. Like if you look at some of the large, like Commonwealth Bank, right? 3 or 4 years ago, the Commonwealth Bank saying, "Oh, we're doing the Spotify model for an agile transformation," and you're like you're a bank that's got 120 years of history. You've got 40,000 people. You look after hundreds of billions of dollars worth of other people's money. What in the world makes you think that you should take the startup from Norway and apply their agile transformation model to your business? So like take all of these things as perspective. The team at Spotify, they're sharing how they are approaching an agile transformation. The leader that you get a coffee with, they're sharing how they approach the leadership challenge of dealing with a difficult team member or dealing with a team member that's got a mental health issue. They're not telling you what you should do. They're just giving you perspective that you can use to form your own course of action. I think to be, like what you mentioned, Sonia, not to put words in your mouth, but following this leader in the US, I think it's important to read broadly and follow and read the articles of people whose values and ideas you don't share, because I think it helps you inform. It's kind of like opposition research in one respect, but it helps you form and broaden your understanding of how your message can be received. I think surrounding yourself with people that can help you on the journey. Like I found the Entrepreneurs Organization tremendously valuable. Like the Courts Forum that I catch up with once a month, they've been phenomenal in sharing perspective. And in fact, the way that EOs run, for those of you on the call that maybe are not aware, when you're in the forum, you're only allowed to speak from experience. You can't share advice. You have to share a story from experience. There's I think having partners on the journey is so important. Like have someone that can hold you accountable. I think of one of the things that's been super valuable for me over the past 15 plus years is one of my mates, Guy Pearson from high school. He's been on a journey to becoming an entrepreneur, and I probably went on the journey to becoming an entrepreneur 10 years after he did. But there's so much perspective that he was able to share, and he knows when to push me, and he knows when to let me pull, and he's a really great coach in that respect. But he's a partner on this journey, and he's as bought into my success as I am to his. And so we set annual goals together, right? Like my wife Liz and I, we have our decade plans. So like, what are our 30s look like, our 40s, our 50s, our 60s. But then on an annual basis, I set goals with Guy. And then on a financial year basis, we set goals as a company here as well. But trying to like reflect on.
Yeah, goal setting is so fundamental. It's so important.
Yeah. And taking the time to reflect on what you've achieved and this is great, right, Sonia? Like, we can get to talk about some of the challenges that we've had in the past couple of months and how do we reflect on that and then set the course for the next 6 or 12 months. I think the key thing that I want to pass on to people though is that you just treat, when other people are providing advice, treat it as perspective, because they're not in your shoes. They don't have your financial situation. They don't have your partner, your kids, your job, whatever else. And they can share some really valuable things, but you need to learn from their experience and make it your own.
Yeah. I think that's so true as well, because I found, I've had my company now for 12 years, and the amount of advice and different perspectives I've taken up, and some of them were actually, they didn't know what it was like to be in my shoes. And I did take their advice, and it wasn't the right advice. But again, I think with anything, it's just learning from it and just keep moving forward. Like someone's just written here, Luke, never start a business without a revenue stream, but being focused on money makes one a terrible salesperson. And I actually agree. Like, I think someone actually said to me the other day, I love the analogy around the greatest tennis players rarely look at the scoreboard. They always keep their eye on the ball. So, I think that that's important as well, because, I suppose when COVID hit, you kind of, I don't know, everyone has their business strategies and everyone kind of has forecasts and things like that. But kind of when COVID hit, I went, oh, okay, well, that's gone out the window now. Now we have to kind of, not trying to use the agile word because obviously that's what you're all about. I think but we had to be agile. It's like we have to be in business. You kind of have to go with, what's going on in the market and the environment, and you have to make changes. But also I think, and I know we've just set up an advisory board, having those people around you, those people that you trust, like you have with EO or your different mentors, having those people to keep you accountable, having those people that want to help you row your boat with you because they believe in you. I think that is really fundamental in business as well. For anyone that wants to start, I didn't expect to start a company, but I'm so grateful that I have because I wanted to have a legacy. But if anyone out there is listening to this, if you're thinking about it, do it. But make sure that you do, as you said, go and talk to people about it. Find some people that you trust, people that are actually doing it, so that there's people in the industry that you follow and they're doing it. Go and ask for their advice as well. Yeah, but I love the fact you mentioned about the Commonwealth Bank and Spotify. I hadn't actually heard that. I might do some. Yeah, I wonder. So how are they going with it? Do you know?
Oh, they've taken it their own now.
Yeah.
But it's not uncommon in a large scale agile transformation that a company goes, you'd hear there'd be 50 large companies in Australia that have tried their hand at the Spotify model, and they do, we'll do squads and tribes and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, that's the language that Spotify used. You don't need to use that language, right? Like, it meant something to them. It means something to them. It means nothing to you. It's like, that we fell in this trap starting agile transformation. This is a total tangent, I guess. But basically, you would change people's title from business analyst to product manager. And of course, that person's got a 10, 15, 20-year career as a business analyst, and suddenly you've removed all their identity. It's like, that's not the way to do long-lasting, sustainable transformation. Anyway,
well, just let you know, Stephanie, I think Stephanie works with you. Stephanie Seymour, she said, Nick's done a great job at hiring people who will be honest with him and giving people the space to speak up. Now, that's leadership. So thanks so much.
Stephanie's awesome. Stephanie actually plays a ukulele in the office. But so, you know, I don't know. I can't ask Stephanie if it's okay to go into this, but basically, like, we've talked a lot about radical candor, and
I love that book.
Yeah, by Kim Scott, and so
Yeah, I'm just got it somewhere. Yeah,
I think that left an impression on us, and I think of, you know, we're trying to encourage. We're trying to provide radical candor, and we're trying to encourage the team to provide radical candor. And I love it when the team, you know, like calls Dave or I out on something. Like, we don't get a free pass on anything. I hope we don't anyway. I sent an article today to women at easyagile.com about second generation gender bias, and I'm like, I'm trying to be more aware of this stuff. Like, you feel free to call me out on it if I'm making these mistakes. But you know, going back to the first day that Satvik joined us during his winter internship, I said, "Oh, just like, let's push it to production." And Satvik just turned to me. You know, he's 19 years old at the time, first year university, and here am I, the person that's brought him in to help us with some of our stuff. He just turned to me. He goes, "Do not bring me down to your level," right? Like, just. Like, time out, like, someone needs to check my code, and someone needs to review my code, like Dave, you know, needs to review my code and make sure that it's good and sanity check it before I push it to production. And so, like, right from day dot, you know, when we started to create a team at Easy Agile, like, that was the prevailing kind of wisdom or approach. It was like, no, like, we don't know everything. Like, we've got no idea. When we started doing one-on-ones with the team members, we were like, this is going to be super awkward. I've never run one-on-ones before. I've had one-on-ones, but I've never been in the role of a manager before. So expect it to be awkward. And it was awkward. It was awkward for like 6 or 12 months, and now it's pretty cool. And we're always trying to find a way to improve. But yeah.
Yeah, but leadership is about being uncomfortable. It is, I think that it is, that's what it's, you've got to keep pushing yourself. And so I know I'm taking all these tangents. Now we've spoken for like 42 minutes. So everyone's going, great conversation. Love the tennis analogy. Like, there's a lot of really cool comments. Someone's just said, just ordered small giants. So obviously we're making a difference here. Oh no, I was going to show you my book, but anyway, I'm not all over the place. I just wasn't expecting my battery to go flat. Anyway, I just wanted to say, I know we've got some other questions, but I just don't want to take up any more of your time. So we'll have to do maybe another interview with Nick 2.0 to get more of his insights, because it sounds like he has got some incredible advice and guidance to everyone out there around great leadership and being a great entrepreneur. So is there anything before we close off this incredible interview, and thank you so much for being so wonderful and great to talk with today. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to everyone that's listening today? Any final insights? I'm sure you're probably going to be getting lots of applications now with people wanting to work with you, because I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, I'd love to work with Nick and his amazing team. Anything else that you'd like to say?
So much, Sonia. But basically, like, remember what you're grateful for, and keep reminding yourself what you're grateful for.
Yeah, I really love that. Yeah. Yes. I do that every day. I actually do that in the mornings. Every morning there's a great book called The Questions That You Need to Ask Yourself Before 8 a.m. Something like that. Anyway, I've got it somewhere here. I've got so many books I could recommend. I'm like sitting right in front of my bookcase. And it's around thinking about or reflecting on what you're grateful for, affirmations, visualizations, journaling, reading. So it's kind of like the questions you need to be asking yourself. And I'm best in the morning. I wake up really early. But being really positive, like not positive, positivity is really important, but it's also being really grateful, like being grateful, especially when you are going through tough times or having some knocks going, okay, what am I grateful for? Like, what am I, and then there's so many things to be grateful for during this time.
Absolutely.
There's lots of people commenting here. It's about, someone's here just written, it's not about just building a company with roadmaps and goals. The culture is what makes a company successful. This is something I can see working inside Easy Agile. Everyone's saying, I love your work, Nick. Shuffleboard table, I don't know what that's about. Anyway, got to check out the shuffleboard. So there's some really, obviously, people have really, really resonated with what you've been saying today. And I'm actually very grateful that I had the opportunity to spend the last 45 minutes with you. So thank you very much. And being grateful is really, really important for everyone that's listening. And also leadership is, because leadership isn't a role or title. It's a mindset, it's an attitude, it's a choice, it's an action. And if there's something that, if you've got a passion or dream or something inside of you, and there's something that you really want to build or create, or you want to I call it jumping off the cliff and believing in yourself and doing it, you've only got this one life, so do it. Like, just, don't look back on your life and go, I wish I had. Have the courage to do it. And also remember, everyone, to stay kind. That's my kind of final thing, is during this time, stay kind to yourself and stay kind to others, and keep being courageous, and reach out to Nick or myself. I'm sure that Nick and his team, if there's anyone out there that's listening and going, wow, I've got some things that Nick can really, and his team at Easy Agile can help us with, go for it. Reach out to Nick, because they're super approachable. Also, just want to give you some feedback. Sean, who manages your marketing, awesome guy, fantastic leader as well. So I just thought you should have some. He's been really wonderful to deal with. So it's a testament to your culture. So thank you so much. And I'm going to drop.
Sonia, I love our team. We have we just got these beautiful people. I love them. Right? I miss them so much at the moment, because we're not all together having lunch and as we normally are. But we're very lucky.
I will send you some research about that, because it's really interesting. I think it was National Geographic. They did some research around the globe, and they found that this is just some really interesting. You know how they go around, they take these beautiful photos of all these incredible places around the world. They did this. They kind of were taking these photos and found there were particular places around the globe that had people that were living longer and seemed to be happier. I'll send you the research, and it's because they ate together. So they'd actually, these small towns would eat together. And it was one of the things I loved every time. Every time I traveled to India to deliver any kind of training or development, is that the teams in India would say, we will have lunch together. Come and eat with us. And I used to think, how wonderful is that? And even a company that we've recently delivered leadership programs to, again, similar. They all eat lunch together. Like, they go, no, you've got to get off your computer. You've got to come and sit with us in the lunchroom, and we all sit and chat. And sometimes we bring food and we share food. And I thought, that is so great. I need to add that to my list. So it's great to hear that you're doing that as well. So, hey, good luck. Sorry, there's other people asking questions, but we better go. I will send you one of my books in the post for you and your team. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonia. And thanks for having me today.
My pleasure. And you take care. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Ciao, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.